this is the little camera I'm using mostly for video. The Panasonic has been sitting in the bag most of the time, and anyone who's watched the channel recently will know that we have only just bought this. It's the DJI Osmo Pocket 2. Finding it very, very useful. The size is brilliant, just as the name says, it fits in your pocket, but you can add all sorts of accessories to it. I did show in an earlier video a setup where this can be a really good rig with a light and a microphone and everything else on it. But there's some other bits and pieces I bought for it that I haven't mentioned until now, so worthwhile having a look at those. The kit you buy it with, if you buy the creator kit, comes with little extras like this little tripod, quite useful to have if you want to set it up somewhere. Take a shot of you walking past it, or a shot of you walking into a room, just to get some interesting b-roll. That sits on the case when you're carrying it, which these are things I didn't know initially. I had to learn. Let's see if I can get that to start. Good little design. Sits on the back of your case, so whenever you're carrying it around you've got that with you. And the microphone, this is for other people like me who never get around to reading the manual, clips on there. And your camera, oops, that's the wrong way around, we don't want the lens facing outward, it's facing the wrong way. Want the lens facing in. Quickest way to do that is to just turn it on, turn it off, and it'll put itself into the right position. So that's its folded position. And just slip it into the case. Now, another little thing I've picked up is to help you mount it with GoPro stuff, and we've got all sorts of GoPro clips and tripods and whatnot. This little thing just replaces the button on here. Let's see if we can get this to slide off. That just comes out, that's your little joystick button. That replaces it, as you can see there. And then you've got GoPro mount on the back, and you've got a cold shoe mount on the side there. So I could even put the microphone on that if I wanted to, instead of having it as a lapel style mic. You can mount it to the camera. Just make sure it's a double mount. It is. So you can slide that on, and that makes quite a useful contribution if you want to be getting some ambient sound in front of the camera. The mics on this are not bad. The internal mics are quite good, I'm surprised. But of course you add that to it, and as part of the creator kit, and it becomes even more versatile. So that's the first little gizmo. Just got to work out which way it comes off. Oh, there we go, it's a little bit tight. Now, another thing I've picked up is this little DJI Tech bracket, and that's if you're going to use your phone. This fella slips in there, and I'm not going to go grab the phone at the moment, but your phone then sits in this part here, and the phone becomes the screen, and that becomes a lot easier to control the camera via the app on the phone. So a nice little metal bracket that's been made up by DJI Tech. Not cheap, I've got to tell you. That costs around about 50 bucks. But it is very nicely made. Rubberized inserts to protect the phone and the camera, and it folds up into a nice neat little package like that. So that's another useful little thing to have. And one thing I should mention about the DJI Tech is that it does have cold shoe on top and a tripod mount on the bottom. So that's a very handy bit of kit if you're using the Pocket 2 or the Pocket. It'll work quite well with the Pocket or the Pocket 2. So if you can get your hands on them, they're not easy to get hold of these days for some reason. They seem to have fallen out of favour, maybe because they're quite expensive. I've seen cheapy versions, but I would always go for this. This is a very, very good quality bit of kit. Now I'm trying out a couple of different windscreen mounts. This is the first one. Now I believe from looking at the pictures of these online, they want you to hang it up that way from the windscreen, which is a bit odd, because then the camera, oops, if we don't drop it, because the camera then sits in this way and you get the foot of this in the way of your shot, which I think is pretty bloody stupid. So what I've been doing, I've been mounting it up the other way. Okay, like that, and putting the camera in this way and just tilting the head. So if your windscreen's tilted a bit and this is tilted back like that, then you tilt the head of this a little bit forward so that it's faced, so that the lens is actually facing the right direction. If I get that to where you can see it, so let's say it's like that, and you just angle that down a little bit, so that makes it usable. And the other mount I've been trialing is this one. Now it doesn't include this bit at the bottom. This is just an ordinary windscreen mount with a screw attachment. The piece I bought is this one, and that allows you to have it sitting upright. Just got a little side catch on there. So I haven't made up my mind which is the better of those two at the moment. Still trying those out to see which one is more stable. This does seem like it wobbles a little bit more on the windscreen than the other one, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the footage that much. The gimbal on these is pretty good. Even just walking along and I'm going thud, 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 it's doing a very good job of keeping steady footage. So yeah, pretty impressed with this so far, but that's just a very quick look at a few accessories. One thing you will probably want to get, apart from a little tripod, is a decent sized tripod that you can wrap around things. You know, these sort of Joby pods or whatever they call themselves. I have no idea anymore, I can't remember the name of it. But you can wrap this around things and then put it up on a branch somewhere, film downwards. They're always very handy to have for any sort of camera anyway. So that little combination you can see on the table here is pretty much all I'm using for filming video on this trip. These things you've got to be really careful of because it's very easy to lose. I'll slot that back in there before I manage to lose it. One thing I have done is get a proper little bag for it, so that all the bits and pieces, not the big tripod, but all the rest of it, can fit in there, and all the little bits you're likely to lose just sit in this section here. So if they're not on the camera, then they go in there, and hopefully that way I'll manage to hang on to them a bit longer and not lose them anytime soon. But the whole lot fits in there, very compact, very easy to use. It's even, this one's even got a little belt. Oh, got another. That's just an ordinary adapter to go from a screw-on to a GoPro. But that, I didn't buy that separately, that just came with something else we bought a long time ago. I just slipped that in there. But yeah, it's got a belt attachment on it, so you can just pop that on your hip, wander around, pull out the camera whenever you want it, and it carries all the bits and pieces you want. Of course it doesn't carry this one. That sits on the windscreen, and we don't really need to carry that one around. That sits on the windscreen anyway. So that's just a quick look at how we're going with this new setup and some of the bits and pieces we're trialling with it. Might come in useful at some stage if you decide to buy one of these. I can highly recommend it. They are very, very useful. I'm finding it a brilliant little camera so far. Of course, this is only the second trip I've had it on, but yeah, very, very impressed with it this far. Battery life is a little bit short, so you do need battery banks or an easy way to charge it while you're moving around. The battery life is a little bit short on it, but apart from that, it's a very, very useful little camera, and I haven't even begun to touch on some of the more advanced things that it can do. But hopefully we'll get to that a bit later on. Okay, there's one other gizmo that I picked up, and this is the supposed waterproof or underwater casing. And this is not the original DJI one. This is a cheaper version that you can get off eBay. Now, the reason I didn't spend $80 and go and buy the DJI one is because I've seen reviews on that and I've seen reviews on this, and they are both unsuitable for actual underwater work. People are reporting they all leak and they all destroy cameras. So why did I buy it? Well, if I'm filming in the boat, that on its own is subject to spray, and if it was dropped in the bottom of the boat, it could get dropped into water, and you don't want water anywhere near one of these things. So if I'm doing some filming in the boat, I can put the camera into the case, and then you're protected. It does have a disadvantage in that if you move it from side to side quickly, you will get these edges in shot. So if you're taking shots, generally it's best to try and move it slowly and steadily to stop the head swinging around too much and getting the sides of this. It probably would have been better if they'd made these sides clear, and in fact it would have been much better if this was a dome shape rather than this round cylinder. But there's a specific mode you need to select to put the DJI into here, and you have to go on screen, and I'll just show you that now. And you have to put it into the correct mode, load it into here, and then you're going to also have to take off the foot or the extension handle here. That has to come off. The joystick has to come off or it won't fit in, and then you're just left with this single little unit, and that will slide neatly inside this. Now this is supposedly waterproof, but I would call it water resistant rather than waterproof. They've got a bit of a silicone seal there. It's only a single seal. For proper water resistant stuff you should have a double seal. That is not going to keep water out, okay? These things should never be trusted as underwater camera housing. They are simply not suitable for it. Don't put your camera in one of these and go diving with it, because odds are your camera's going to end up dead. Too many people have done that, even with the original DJI stuff, and they've killed their cameras. Now some of them have been lucky because they've got big channels and they've gone to DJI and they've got their cameras replaced. A lot of people have been very unlucky, and they've either had to give up using their camera altogether, or they've had to just go out and buy another one. Don't use these for diving. Very, very bad idea. But it is a good thing for waterproofing it. You could go out filming in the rain. The rain's not really going to get much ingress into that. And you can use it in a boat, which is what we want to use it for. And once the camera's in there and this is on, it's going to be relatively safe when it's in the boat. And I probably would say that if you accidentally dropped it in the water and it floated, I don't know if it will or not, I'm not about to try it, but if it does, I would imagine that if you got it out of the water quick enough, you wouldn't really get a lot of water going in there unless this goes down to a depth. You may be able to use them on the surface just to sort of under the initial surface, but I wouldn't trust them. I would test it out first without the camera inside, get a big pot full of water and just put that on, put some tissue paper inside or some paper towels inside, and then just see if you get any water in there. But I'll show you now how to use the settings for it, because as I say, you have to use specific settings so that the head on this, when you turn it on, turns into that position automatically. It's not something you do via the joystick and then put it in. You set it in the housing mode, and then when you turn it on next time, and you'll turn it on by using the switch on the back here, then it will automatically go into this right angle then it will automatically go to the correct angle and you'll be able to film with it using the button here. So these two buttons, you can't use the joystick, that's got to come out, as I say. So you're left with these two buttons, but that's enough to do most things. So as you can see here, the joystick's been removed. You slide it in so that the buttons conform to the external buttons. Slip the top on. And then it's ready to go. You hold down the right hand button, turns it on, and you'll see that when it's in that casing mode, the head will orientate itself in the right way, so that it's angled up. But remember, don't waggle it too much side to side too quickly, because when you do that, you're going to catch those sides that will be in part of your footage. So just move it slowly. Okay, so that's it for a little look at the extra accessories we bought for the DJI Pocket 2. I hope you found the video interesting if you're thinking about using it, or if you've got one yourself. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.